Agnire purohitam yajnasya devamritwijam hodaram ratradhatamam Agnih purve bhirishibhiribhyo nutanairuta sadevam yeha rakshati Agnina rayivasnavatposhameva dive dive yasasam veeravattamam Agneyam yajnamadvaram vishvatah paribhurasi Sayedeveshu gacchati Agnirhota kavikratus satyaschitrasravastamaha Devo devebhiragamat Yadangadasushethvamagne bhadram karishyasi Taretat satyamangiraha Upatvagne dive dive doshavastadhiya bhayam Namo bharantayemasi Rajantamadvaranam gopamritasya didivim Vardhamanam svedame Sanah piteva sunavegne supajano bhava Sachasvanasvastaye.
Greetings from the holy land of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Today is really a very auspicious day for all of us. Not only the devotees from Sri Aurobindo and the Mother's teachings, but also the people of the world. Because today is the International Peace Day. So throughout the world, millions of people, they're celebrating the peace, which is identified in the Indic scriptures, that is the Shanti. And this peace is basically one of the unique concepts which everyone, not only the human beings, but also the plants, the animals, everyone aspires for. That is why our Vedic seers, they have very meticulously, when they speaks about Prithvi Shanti, Deho Shanti, Antariksha Shanti, etc. So on this special occasion, I welcome to all of you to join this today's session. I am very much, it is really a matter of great pleasure to tell you that on this auspicious day, we have started a new initiative, that is Vedic Heritage Study and Research Forum. And the objective of this forum is to create some institutional networking, the research projects, programs, and more specifically, the community outreach activities. And as all of you know that the Vedas are considered as the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. It was accepted by 2008, the United Nations Education, Science and Cultural Organization. And you'll be happy to know that the Vedas are the first element from the India which was nominated to UNESCO, and it was accepted as an intangible heritage based on its mystic practices, the spiritual ethos, and many others, and to creating a sustainable society as well. So when we talk about Maharishi Aurobindo's contribution to the Vedas, not only he has defended many of the ideas, but also he has translated the Vedas, the sacred hymns, and also focused on the psychological interpretations of the Vedas in a more specific manner. And the monumental works of Sri Aurobindo, that is Secret of the Vedas, Hymns to the Mystic Fire, Vedic and philological studies, and many others. Maharishi Aurobindo has given special emphasis that the Vedas ought to be the foundation of Sanatana Dharma. And he has also more specifically identified that it has to be, the modern generation needs to be explored. This spirit of this literature, literary heritage for the creation of a sustainable society. So this is basically the foundation of this project, and this Vedic Heritage Study and Research Forum. This is today is the first initiative, and we have identified one topic, that is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, Vedic vision of peace and sustainability. This is the today's discussion. Before I enter to the topic, I would like to present few slides. So this Vedic Heritage Study and Research Forum, the objective is to create a sustainable dialogue between the communities, the peoples, and the institutions around the world, not only confined to the Vedic studies, but also its interdisciplinary approach, which is related with many studies. Sometimes we talk about this Indological studies, Indic studies, Oriental studies, Asian studies, South Asian studies, Indian art and culture. So the scopes, the opportunities are bound. There is no boundaries to limit it to a specific subjects. Yes. So as I mentioned that Maharishi Aurobindo has mentioned that the Vedas ought to be the foundation of Sanatana Dharma. And Maharishi Aurobindo also writes that the Veda Samhita is the eternal source of dharma, culture, and spiritual knowledge of India. With this is the motto, the text, the consciousness we identified to work on this project. And I welcome all of you for this today's enriching session, for your continuous participation. I'm very much thankful to all of you for joining the initiatives, whatever little way we are doing, and we will continue this dialogue more further. So as the slide says, that Vedic Heritage Study and Research Forum is an initiative which we have started from Sri Aurobindo Society, and today is the fourth session. And the main objective is to continue some research and outreach activities to understand the secrets of the Vedic hymns, the consciousness of the rishis, and more specifically apply it for the creation of a sustainable society. You know that the Vedas are regarded as the foundation of fountainhead of knowledge, the source of inspiration of the consciousness of the Vedic mystics. They discovered this supreme consciousness and handed this tremendous spiritual knowledge to the generations to feel, and the main motto was to understand the spirit within and how to unite it with the supreme consciousness. When we talk about Maharishi Aurobindo's contribution, is basically he's a poet, philosopher, and a yogi, and he has coined the Vedic symbols to speak, to address, to identify, to experiment the human consciousness. And he mentioned that the spirit of oneness will take hold of the human race. And through this forum, we will try to connect with the communities, the people, those who are engaged with Vedic and allied studies, for a creative dialogue for creativity and sustainability. As all of you know that the ashram was established, Sri Aurobindo Ashram was established in 1926, and the Sri Aurobindo Society was established in 1960, and Auroville was in 1968. As we know that Sri Aurobindo Society is basically recognized as a research institute in social sciences, and also more specifically, the society is affiliated to the scientific and industrial research organizations that is called CIRO under the Ministry of Science and Technology. And whatever research or community outreach activities we are doing with the mother's blessings, we're trying to collaborate to cope with the governments of India's guidelines and what is happening around the world. For example, when we talk about the culture, we also address cultural diplomacy. We also address significant issues related to the soft power of India or the globalization issues and how to create a sustainable society. So we have twofold applications. First one is to address the diversity of cultural expressions. And the second one is the cross-cultural studies to understand each other. What Sri Aurobindo mentions in his piece, confluence of cultures, Sanskritiyon ka Aishik Milan. So in such a globalized world, when many cultures, traditions are intermingled, we believe that intercultural understanding and the cross-cultural ethos can provide a specific platform to understand each one of us, each other, and to create a society which is not only materialistically developed, but also spiritually awakened also. That is the need. So today is basically the International Day of Peace. I will just little 1 minute I'll take for why it is celebrating. Actually, this year the UNESCO, United Nations, they are celebrating the 25th anniversary of the International Day of Peace, and it was adopted in 1999. The motto is not only is the absence of conflict. Peace is not only the absence of conflict, but also requires a positive, dynamic, participatory process where dialogue is encouraged and conflicts are solved in a spiritual of mutual understanding and cooperation. I unquote. This is the quotation given by the UNESCO. More specifically, peace is not the absence of conflict, but it requires a positive and dynamic participatory process for a mutual based on mutual understanding and cooperation. As we know that the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization is one of the international bodies, and they address many of the international issues. And in the bottom you can see wars begin in the human mind, in the minds of men. So it is the minds of men that the defenses of peace must be constructed. I want to read once again this. Wars begins in the minds of men. So it is the minds of men that the defenses of peace must be constructed. So now the question comes, be such peace, but where it is? What UNESCO more specifically defines that peace needs to be constructed in the peace of the human mind. Mean that the defenses of peace must be constructed. And this is basically the international spirit, 25 years of your outstanding journey throughout the world, millions of events, millions of projects, and millions of people are connected with this. And we can find many movements to achieve peace on this human earth. So now the question comes, is it the outcome or is it the necessity of the current day's time? When we refer to the Vedic times, the Vedic seers, they also spoke about, the Vedic sages also spoke about peace and sustainability. We find the terminology that is called the Shanti. In many of the mantras, they have meticulously identified, used this terminology to address specific issues, how peace can be established. But when we talk about the peace, actually, whatever challenges, suppose we say that global powers of dynamics, we have ethnic and religious tensions, we have conflicts and wars also, we have political instability, then economic inequality, terrorism and extremisms, then human rights violations, environmental issues, misinformation and propagandas. That is basically what defines, that is the activities of the divine, the hostile forces to create some problems, especially in the evolution of the creation. So these we find some problems, what I discussed about, that the global powers, whether it is the economic equality or the political instability, but Sri Aurobindo very clearly defines problems are there that so that we can overcome that. Like Mother also defines, the hostile forces are there. They are not the obstacles actually. The hostile forces are also there to continue to the development of the universal process. For example, when the Samudra Manthan was there, and the demons got most mysterious powers, they tried to capture the heaven and many of the lokas. And once a group of gods went to Lord Shiva and they complained about the demons, that these demons are destroying the universe. They are capturing our Swargaloka and many others. Then Lord Shiva made a very unique reply to the gods, that you see the hostile powers will be there. their existence, for the sustenance of the universe, the evolution process is also indispensable. He gave one example that churning of the ocean, Samudra Manthan, was not possible only by the gods. That's why one asuric force, by the force of the demons, was also needed. So particularly these challenges, when we talk about this speech, these problems are also, it is basically, sometimes some problems are man-made, some problems are the creation, output of the nature's calamities are there. So we have many challenges to the world peace actually. So challenges are there, that's why we are trying to find a solution. If challenges are not there, what is the necessity to find a solution to a specific issue? So when we talk about these international issues, particularly wars, economic inequality or social injustice, what about the loss of lack of faith, morality, and many others, it has been throughout the ages, we can find many of the examples. You take the examples of the Mahabharata war also. Throughout the year, throughout the creation process, the hostile forces are there and they're also creating obstacles, but so that the divine truth can be established in a more specific manner. So when talk about a solution, a possible approach by the Vedas, which is considered as the what Sri Aurobindo refers, I want to read this beautiful passage in Essays Divine and Human. Sri Aurobindo writes, I quote, I seek not science, not religion, not theosophy, but the Veda, the truth about the Brahman, not only about his essentiality, but about his manifestations, not a lamp on the way to the forest, but a light and a guide to joy and action in the world, the truth which is beyond opinion, the knowledge which all through strives after Yasmin Vijyante Sarvam Vijnantam. I believe that the Vedas to be the foundation of the Sanatana Dharma. I believe it to be the concealed divinity within Hinduism, but a veil has to be drawn aside. A curtain has to be lifted. I believe it to be the knowable and discoverable. I believe the future of India and the world to depend on its discovery and its application, not to the renunciation of life, but to life in the world and among men. I repeat the last line. I believe the future of India and the world to depend on its discovery and on its application, not to the renunciation of life, but to life in the world and among men. So what Maharishi Aurobindo has very specifically defines the Ved in the Essays and Divine and Human, the Vedas to be the foundation of the Sanatana Dharma. So when we refer to the Vedas, what exactly it is? For example, you see, when we refer to the tradition, Maharshi Yaska in his Nirukta defines Shakshat Krita Rishayah Dharmana Babhu Te Ashakshat Krutebhya Upadeshena Mantran Sampraduhu Upadeshaya Glayanto Imam Vedam Vedanganicha. That means the first generation of the sages, the rishis, they discovered this supreme consciousness. Shakshat Krita Rishayah Dharmana Babhu Te Avarebhyo. That means Te avarebhyo asakshat krutebhyo. That means the next generation, those who are not able to discover this spirit of this divine knowledge, they transmitted this knowledge to the initiation, which is called the Upadesha. And for the latter generations, all these Vedas and Vedangas were written. And we can see how these Vedic people who are fond of knowledge, whether they found the stones or the leaves, they started writing so that the people, the next generation will come and access these symbolic powers of the Vedas particularly. And more specifically, Maharshi Aurobindo writes in his famous epic Savitri, there is the book of books index page, the text and glossary of the Vedic truths are there. Maharshi Aurobindo has also defined that the nature's creations correspondence with the soul are retained in the mystic heart of life. Sri Aurobindo defines the rishis as the mystics, and he defines that the nature's correspondence with the soul. What Maharshi Yaska defines, Sakshat Krita Rushayha Dharmana Babhu. So particularly when we study these Vedas, we find that the Vedas are the foundation, the fountainhead of knowledge. And that knowledge, more specifically, more conscious enough to understand the inner consciousness, the inner life of human beings, and to find an equanimity among all the creations, whether it is the plants, whether the animals, and many others, because they are also the part of the sustainability of the universal phenomena. So this universal knowledge, which these Vedic secrets, the Vedic sages decoded through a language which is much purified, confined to the specific grammatical techniques, and more specifically bounded with the meters, and more specifically the swaras and the mantras, has that supreme power. By utilizing these mantras, one can also invoke the gods. For example, the first mantra of the Rigved, Rishi Madhuchandas says, Om Agnim Mele Purohitam Merjasya Deva Mritwijam Hota Aram Ratnadhatamam. The Rishi invokes Lord Agni, Om Agnim Mele. That means the Madhuchandas is praying to, invoking to the god Agni, Agnim Mele Purohitam, and there are many attributes. The Agni is the Purohit, the Devam, and also the Ritvik, the Hotar, and the Ratnadhatamam. Many attributes he has given to this. So the Rigved consists of more than 10,580 mantras, and more specifically the 4 Vedas, 20,000 mantras. And the rishis, in a more specific way, they confines to the universal phenomena, the combination of the man, nature, and the universe. Only in that way, the soul's journey can be explored and the divinity can be established. That was the main necessity and the business of the Vedic mystics, to whom we call as the Vedic sages. When we talk about these literary traditions, starting from the Vedas, the Brahmanas, the Aranyakas, the Upanishads, coming to the classical period, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, and many other scriptures, what this mother goddess, to whom we identified as the Bharati, Bharat, the goddess Bharati. Sri Aurobindo also speaks about what is the role of Bharat, the country of India, to create a sustainability on the earth. I quote, I write, your wisest and highest spiritualizing of life on earth is the last vision of all of that vast and unexampled seeking and experiment in 1,000 ways of the soul's outermost and innermost experience, which is the unique characters of India's past. This is the end, is the mission for which she was born, and the meaning of her existence. Sri Aurobindo defines what is the role of Bharat, the goddess Bharati, Bharat Mata, that is the widest and highest spiritualizing of life on earth, which is not materialistically developed, but spiritualizing life on earth, which is in the widest and highest levels of consciousness, which can develop the human being's consciousness into more specific levels. This is basically the business, this is basically the motives, the ideas and the identity of the Vedic sages. So today's concept, when we talk about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, we know that the idea was started from the Vedic times, and in the contemporary scenario, like in the 21st century, India's G20 presidency, we have seen how this country spread a message through this iconic word, that is the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is a family. I generally ask these questions to many of my friends. What is this concept actually? They say it is one world, one family. You were mentioning about the translations, but what is the concept? The mantra is identified from the Maha Upanishad. The Rishi says, Ayam nijaha parobeti ganana laguchetasam. Udara Charitanam tu Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is the one of the phrases of only the 1/4 of the mantra. So the 3 parties, Ayam Nijaha Parveti. You see the beautiful translation below. The thought that this is mine and that is somebody else appear only those with a narrow mind. For the larger hearted ones, however, the entire world is a family. So it is the Rishi very specifically coined the word Laguchetasam. You see, whether the Vedic mystics or the classical Sanskrit poets or the rishis, they are very meticulous in choosing the words, particularly creating the mantras or the slokas. For example, you take the example of Ramayana. The entire Ramayana has been written in the Anushtup Chand, and there will be some specifics, alphabets. The Hrasho and Laghu Matras will be more specifically, Chandas are there, Swaras are there. So the Rishi here defines Laghu Chaitasam, those who have the narrow mind. Narrow mind means we will not into confine it to the mind in a subtle conscious level. Those we can identify that whose consciousness is not fully developed. But it is not that there is no possibility. But the option is possibility, and the development chances are also there. Because the Vedic Rishis also speaks about the four levels of consciousness in the Upanishads. That is the Jagrat, the Swapna, Shushupti, and Turiya levels of the four levels of consciousness. So particularly the Jagrat, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it has been defined. So the concept is, this is mind, that is yours. It creates an obstacle in the development process, in the evolution process. But the largest hearted bonds, where the entire universe is a family. And I'll tell you a very interesting thing. Before the Vedas, before this Upanishad, because these Upanishads came much later, prior to that, we have the Aranyakas, the Brahmana Granthas, and the Vedas also. In Yajurveda also defines Yatra Vishwam Bhavati Eka Nidam, where the universe is a nest, Nidam, where the universe becomes a family. So the concept of unity or the peace and sustainability is one of the main and core group of the Vedic mystics, and they have more specifically observed the functioning of the nature, the functioning of the human mind and the life on earth, and they gave some mystic words, some secret symbols, so that these concepts can be defined in a more specific manner. Like Maharishi Aurobindo again defines the supreme Shastra. He mentions that the Vedas are the supreme Shastra. And you see how beautifully he writes that the supreme Shastra of the integral yoga is the eternal Veda, the secret in the heart of every thinking and living beings. The lotus of the eternal knowledge and the eternal perfection is a bird closed and folded off within us. It opens swiftly or gradually, petal by petal, through successive realizations. Once the mind of man begins to turn towards the eternal, once his heart no longer compressed and confined by attachment to finite appearances, becomes enamored in whatever degree of the infinite. So what Maharishi Aurobindo defines, you see, there is a beautiful lotus between the image of Lord Krishna and Maharishi Aurobindo. What he mentions that the lotus, it opens the eternal knowledge by petal, swiftly or gradually. The lotus opens the petal by petal. Even if the Sahasrara Chakra also in this yogic system is 1,000 petal of the consciousness of the human mind, that is the ultimate to understand the human consciousness. So it is basically our aspiration to the divine, to understand the supreme reality, and the sacred Vedas, what Sri Aurobindo defines, the supreme Shastra of the integral yoga is the eternal Vedas, the secret in the heart of every thinking and living being. When we talk about every thinking and human being, it is not identified to only the human beings. That is the most dangerous things which we have established on the earth, that the human beings are the most superior creations. And Sri Aurobindo defines man the thinking animal only. It is basically, that is not the end of the sustainable creation process, but that is not the end of the evolutions. We do not think about the plants, we do not think about the animals, we kill them, we cut the trees, but we never ask whether the trees and the plants, they want to live on the earth. just for the sake of our own food, physical things, or our own satisfaction, we destroy the world actually. Then what Sri Aurobindo speaks about, every thinking and living being. I will give one example. I think many of you have heard the famous text that is called Kadambari. Kadambari, written by the famous poet Vana Bhatta. He defines the Rishi Javala Muni's ashram. He mentions when he entered into the Javal Rishi's ashram, he saw the peacocks. The parrots, they were reciting the Vedas with the swaras. And he also saw that peacocks were with the wings, they were enriching the fire of the Yajna Vedis. The monkeys were helping the blind monks or the rishis to take them to the Havankund, Yajna Mandap, and also taking to the nest. And the more specific examples, can you imagine such a world where the parrots were reciting the Vedas with the Swara? Just once again. So the ashram of Jabala Rishi, Banavatta defines about how beautiful is the parrots by listening to the sacred chanting of the Vedas in the forest, the Gurukulas, they are also memorizing the Vedas. So when we talk about the thinking and living beings, so it is not only confined to the humans, and we think we are the most superior creations. We have made a lot of violations on the earth. The human beings, they have made a lot of problems, and also we are searching a solution which is called the peace actually. You see, now the question comes, when we search about the peace, that is the triple unification of the man, nature and universe. You take the example of the famous Purusha Shuktam of the Rigved. The Rishi Narayan speaks about the entire cosmic phenomena, the creation of the universe, and how combined the man, nature and the universe. This one mantra like Purusha Evedam Sarvam Yadbhutam Yachavabham Utamatatyesha Shano Yadannanati Rohati. The Purusha is the past, all the future and the present. He is the Lord of deathlessness, and he rises from hiding from the universe of four Purushottams. So when we see the triple unification of the man, nature and the universe, to maintain the sustainability, there is a proper unification, and the concept of peace is there actually. And what business we have done? We have not much efforts, materialistic, more convinced, but spiritually not awaken our ancient consciousness. We try to know about the universe, but what is happening in the universe, in our own universe, we are not confined. You take the example of Yat Pinde Tat Brahmande. It speaks, someone has beautifully translated these words. I am a universe in the universe. So what is happening within me, it is also happening around the universe actually, because the individual consciousness is the part of the universal consciousness. The individual body is the part of the cosmic body. The individual mind is also the the universal mind, or more specifically in a psychic and spiritual level, we are confined, we are attached to the supreme consciousness. We are suffering because we somehow, the human beings are we're not able to realize. So what the message they have each and every tradition given to the world. Like you take the example Ayam Atma Brahma, the famous Vedas speaks about. The Buddhist tradition speaks about Apo Dipo Bhavo, Atma Dipo Bhavo. To realize the oneself, that is the main business of the human being on the earth. But we have forgotten the real spirits, because materialistic much more convinced to outwardly things. But how to discover the spiritual sense and to transform the human life into a more specific universal phenomenon, that is the necessity. So when we talk about this Santi and the concept of peace, you see the science of spirituality, what Sri Aurobindo defines in one of his monumental creations. The spirit shall look out through matter's gaze, and matter shall reveal the spirit's face. So even if the great scientist like Albert Einstein has also told, the science without religion is lame, and religion without science is blind. Eko bhuto sarvabhuteshu, eko atma sarvabhuteshu gudaha. Lord Krishna defines in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And also in the Kathopanishad, there is a long dialogue between the Supreme and the individual consciousness. What is the real essence of the Atman? So from the beginning of the creation, the Vedic mystics, the Vedas, more specifically, they have identified that the consciousness needs to be merged with the universal consciousness. The individual soul needs to be merged with the universal soul. That is the main business, and peace is one the which can lead to the path. To take one example from the Kathopanishad, one of the famous sayings of Swami Vivekananda, arise, awake and stop not till the goal is reached. What exactly? It is the translation of one of the mantras of the famous Kathopanishad. It says, Uttishtata, Jagrata Prapya, Varanna Nibodhata. Arise, awake and stop not till the goal is reached. But the second line is more important. It says, Khurasya dhara nisita durattvaya durgam pathastat kabayo badanti. That means the path is not so easy. It's just like walking on the razor's edge. So says by the sages, Patham durgam pathastat kabayo badanti. That means the rishis of the Upanishad, they are referring pathastat kabayo badanti, that the kabis, the poets, the sages have told, they are referring to the ancient sages. And also when we study the Vedas, the first Suktam, that the Rishi Madhuchandas also defines Agnihi Purvevi Riddyaha Nutaniruta Sa Devan Eha Vakshati. Rishi Madhuchandas defining Agnihi Purvevi, that means the fire, the Lord of the fire, which is worshipped by the sages, Nutanehi Purvevi, who was worshipped by the ancient sages also. The Vedic mystics are referring to a generation of the other traditions of their prior traditions. So the spirituality is one of the most substantial forces to establish peace, more specifically in an individual level, and more specifically in a collective consciousness in universal meaning also. So I was talking about Sri Aurobindo's this quotation, this cosmic creations. When we talk about the peace, especially in the light of the Vedas and Sri Aurobindo's interpretations, we find that the cosmic creations and the life on earth, we find there are symbols. Symbols not specifically what we have created on the stones, like in the, for example, if you deeply observe the sky, every time you will find some symbolic representations. You just observe the nature. If sometimes we see the functioning of the ocean, the flow of the wind, and the spreading of the earth, we find it has a symbolic meaning. The lines and the symbolic forms, what Sri Aurobindo defines here, the symbol powers of the numbers and the forms. Like, I'll give some 2-3 examples. You take the example of Agni, they have iconified the Lord, which has some supreme powers. They have iconified a small word which is called the Vayu, the wind god. They have iconified a terminology called Akasha to mention about this beautiful creation. They have also identified the terminology that is called the Jalam to speak about the world. So it has some symbolic meanings actually, the Vedic symbols, the Vedic words, because the mystic things, what they have mentioned through these iconic creations, it reveals the cosmic phenomena. When we see the developments of this universal process, these symbolic creations gives a specific message, and it has been iconified in many of the stones, monuments, literary things, and then the tradition is enormous actually. Thousands and thousands of examples are there. Then come to the concept, what exactly the Rishi directly defines about the peace. You see, this is a beautiful mantra from the Yajurved, and it was translated by Swami Avedanand from the Ramakrishna Vedanta Math, Bharat. It says, Om Devo Shanti Antariksham Shanti Prithibhi Shanti Rapah Shanti Oshadaya Shanti Vanaspataya Shanti Vishwadeva Shanti Brahmam Shanti Sarvam Shanti Shanti Reva Shanti Shama Shanti Redhi Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. You see, nowadays we human beings create some forums, just like we have created one, There are millions of institutions around the world. They work on some peace and sustainable developments. There are global movements, the demand of the peace so that the human beings can live on earth. But refer to the Vedas, I was talking about the triple unification of the man, nature, and the universe. The Rishi here speaks about the Antariksham. And the translation is, may peace radiate there in the whole sky as well as the vast eternal space. May peace reign all over the earth, in water, in all the herbs, trees, and creepers. May peace flow over the whole universe. May peace be in the whole universe. And may there always exist in all peace and peace alone. Om, peace, peace, peace to us and all beings. So how beautifully it defines about the sustainable One Health project, that is the human existence of the plants, existence of the animal beings, and the Rishi speaks more specifically about it. You take the another example also, like the Rishi speaks one of the mantras, Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Santir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And the translation is, may there be well-being in all, may there be peace in all, may there be fulfillment in all, may there be auspiciousness in all. Om, peace, peace, and peace. I'll focus on the last three things. Why these iconic 3 times we use the Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. You see, we have 3 levels of existence, some calamities and the obstacles. One is the Adhyatmic, Adhibhautik, and Adhidevik. So the 3 times of Santi particularly defines the 3 levels of existence, the challenges to overcome and to realize the Supreme Spirit. For example, you take the Adhyatmic Dukkha or the Tapo, is that which is caused by bodily sufferings and mental anguish, which is called the Adhyatmic, literally means pertaining to the Atma or the body. So what in a more sustainable and a peaceful way, the Rishi speaks about the consciousness and the yoga system. Like yoga is just to connect with to be united with the universal soul. So they discovered the science of this yoga and human consciousness. And nowadays, you see, we have International Day of Yoga and many institutions. And in a more specifically, when we talk about these Hatha Yogic practices, the most intellectual being on the earth, the humans, the Hatha Yogic practices, the asanas, they learn from the animals. They learn from the reptiles. Like many of the yogic postures, the Bhujangasana pose, that is the snake's pose, that is a cat's pose also. In many of the poses, they have mentioned about the animal beings. What was the business of the rishis? They were observing the movements of the animals. They are observing the movement of how these beings react to the universal phenomena of the nature. So they have identified, developed this system. The another is the Adhidaivik, literally means pertaining to the Daiva or the pet or the unseen forces and the gods, actually more specifically sometimes. So Adhidaivik Dukkham is basically some unseen forces. For example, I will give one example. When this COVID was started, the former president of the United Nations, Sir Donald Trump, he made a statement on the Twitter. We are fighting with an invisible enemy. That was the sentence, nothing much. We are fighting with an invisible enemy. Donald Trump made a statement on the Twitter, and that COVID is basically an invisible enemy actually. So such kind of calamities, the Adhidaivik, the world of Daiva includes the power of time, nature, and the unseen forces, and how to overcome this actually. Sri Aurobindo again is translations and commentaries published by Sri Aurobindo's Analytics and Consciousness and summaries. He mentions the Upanishadic thoughts falls naturally into 2 great periods. In one, the earlier is still kept close to the Vedic roots. to recover the consciousness of his inalienable freedom by recovering the consciousness of unity in the Lord, unity in himself, unity with all existence. You see, unity in the Lord and unity in himself. These invisible powers are part of the universal phenomenon process, and they also contribute for the creation, the evolution process. But sometimes the Rishi speaks about how to overcome from the Adidaivic phases. The third one is the Adibhautik, that is the tapo, which is caused by other bhutas or living beings like wild animals, snakes, or other enemies. It literally means pertaining to the bhutas, the living beings. You see, mother was more specifically to many other beings like the plants and the animals. Here is a beautiful quotation. Man has one leg in animality and the others in humanity. At the same time, he is a candidate for divinity. His is not a happy condition. The true animals are better off, and they are also more harmonious among themselves. They do not quarrel as human beings do. They do not put on airs. They do not consider some as inferiors and keep them at a distance. Today morning, when I was thinking something about today's presentation, I will share a little experience. Generally, what happens in our house every morning, we find some crows, 5, 6, 7, sometimes a group of crows come, and what do? We keep some foods for them. They eat in a very peaceful coexistence, and they go out. What I observed today morning, one small crow came. When I kept the food, he created some sounds. He invited all his friends, and within few seconds, some 8 or 10 crows came, and they also created some sounds and enjoyed the food and went away. You see, the little movement, it was an observation. I saw how these, and more specifically, I had chosen this quotation. What the mother speaks about the animals, they do not quarrel as the human beings do. They do not put on the airs. They do not consider some as inferiors and keep them as a distance. What Lord Krishna defines, I am in all and all in me. Sarva esha atma sarva bhuteshu gudha. So this is also one of the more specifically, we are killing animals for our to satisfy our food habits. We're cutting the trees, destroying the nature, and we blame this is due to this rapid industrializations, the globalization process. But somehow, somewhere, that imbalance, that we can say the problems, the imbalance between the man, nature, and the universe. So the Rishi speaks about the 3 levels of the peace existence which needs to be addressed, and more specifically, they defines how it is. Again, in the foundation of the Indian culture, a defense of Indian culture, religion, and spirituality defines that man lives in the physical cosmos subject to death and the much falsehood of the mortal existence. To rise beyond this death, to become one with the immortals, he has to turn from the falsehood to the truth. He has to turn to the light and to battle with and conquer the powers of the darkness. What the rishis mentioned, Om Asato Ma Shadgamaya, Tamasho Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya. The rishi speaks about the creations. Again, Sri Aurobindo speaks about the Vedic sages. When we talk about the peace and sustainability, nowadays everyone is searching the peace. But where is the peace actually? Can we purchase it from the market by spending lakhs of rupees? Can we acquire forcefully the peace to get it for our own satisfaction? He specifically defines about the psychological and the psychic disciplines which led beyond himself to a highest spirituality. So the highest levels of spirituality, the man's journey to the ultimate divine, that is basically the universal phenomena, and that was the business, the main motive. Their works, the Vedic sages, they have done on the earth. You see, I'll refer to the four Mahavakyas of the four Vedas. The first is, the sequence is little bit, the first we can discuss about that Aham Brahmasmi. When the inner consciousness of the being is developed, the inner consciousness of the being is developed and realize the own ultimate creations, the being defines Aham Brahmasmi. I am the Brahman. So what is the definition of the Brahman? The Vedas defines Pragyanam Brahma. That is from the Aitareya Upanishad. That is the supreme knowledge. Pragyanam. Pragyanam. Gyanam is wisdom. Sorry, Gyanam is knowledge, but Pragyanam is wisdom. There is a great difference between the knowledge and wisdom. And the Rishi defines the Pragyanam is Brahman. The real knowledge is Brahman. And when I realize, the individual consciousness realize, I am the Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, Ayam Atma Brahma, then what's about you? That I also find the same level of consciousness in you that the Rishi defines, Tattvamasi, thou art that. That is from the Chandogya Upanishad. When I realize Ayam Atma Brahma, when I realize Tattvamasi, then what's about the entire universe, the cosmic phenomena? That is the Sarvam Khaluidam Brahma. When these four levels of consciousness, four Mahavakyas we recover, the ultimate is Sarvam Khaluidam Brahma. That is the entire universe is part of the Brahman, the Leela, the manifestation of the Almighty. What Sri Aurobindo defines the Leela of the Lord Krishna in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And it is the Leela of the avatar, the creations, Yada Yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, advithanam adharmasya tadatmanam sujamyaham. You see, the religions and the cultures are man-made. We have created different religions and the different cultures. But Lord Krishna defines in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Yada Yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. It is the ultimate power of the Brahman. It is the Lord's creation, and we human beings do not have the right to destroy this creation. We do not have the right to kill someone. We do not have the right to cut the trees. We do not have the right to kill the animals. Can you see? Can you ask that those beautiful, those innocent animals, when we kill them just to satisfy our foods? So can you see that how they cry? Can you just see their faces, those crying faces when we kill the animals? Can you see this disaster condition when we got a fish from the ocean or from the pond, and how it suffers without water and it dies? So can you ever recall about how when we cut the trees that sometimes just like the water comes like a blood, just like the human beings, the animals, the plants also, they have lives. So the way we disaster, we create destroy the universal phenomena. This is the outcome of our activities. And a solution to this, we are searching for the peace. But where is the peace? That is within. The Vedas speaks of. You will not find in the markets. You will not find. It is just like the Kasturi Murga. We are roaming here and there, but that peace is within us. So there are several examples, like the Rishi speaks about Pragyanam Brahman. The Rishi speaks about Yatra Vishwabhati Ekanidam, where the universe is a family, where that is the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam concept. The Rishi also speaks that what the Vedas and this scriptures speaks of Nabhuto na Bhavishyati, because you see, there are thousands of universities around the world. Millions of Sanskrit scholars and Indian scholars, they are working on the Vedas. But by uniting all these, we cannot create a single mantra actually. We cannot create a single mantra like what Madhuchandas has mentioned. Where we will create this consciousness, as Yaska defines, Shakshat Katarshaya Dharmana Bababu, it is basically the correspondence with the individual soul, with the universal soul. Because that is the Rutambara Pragyan, that Pragyanam is filled with Ritam. Ritam means a higher levels of consciousness the Rishi speaks of. So we have major challenges, and the Vedas may be a solution to this. And just like other traditions also, you study the famous quotes from the Janda Avesta, the Avesta text of the Zoroastrians. The Zoroastrians basically, just like the Vedic sages, the Zoroastrians were also the Vedic worshippers. They celebrate the Nowruz festival, the festival of fire. I had the privilege to visit some of the Central Asian countries, and I saw there are Ataskada. Ataskada means the fire temples. They worship the fires. You take the example of the Buddhist traditions also. You take the example of Christianity, in Jainism, and many other religions. Whatever they identified with the universal phenomena, they created a sustainable measures and a message to the people. And what the Rishi speaks on the Vedas, Manur Bhava, be the humans. Like the famous quote of the Arishamas, that is Krunanda Vishwamaryam. Let the universe, the whole world is a novel, because you belong to a noble creations. Sometimes when you do some rituals, the priest asks us, what is your gotra? From which Rishi clans you are? Suppose I am from the Rishi Gautama's descendant, actually. My gotra is Gautama, Dhara Gautama gotra. So in Swami Vivekananda also in his Chicago speech in World Parliament of Religions, he mentions, we people are the descendant of the Rishis, but we have forgotten our powers. And Maharishi Swami Vivekananda also defines that the composer of the Vedas were the Rishis. And it's a matter of great pleasure. There are also female Rishikas like Apala, Ghosha, Gargi. In today's session also we find there are many Rishikas, like I have Charu is there, my friend, my colleague Dr. Renu Kochar Sarma from Allahabad University is there, and many others are here. So the Rishikas also composed many of the unique suktas, consciousness. And when we refer to the Vedas, there are some famous like the praise of goddess Shraddha and Saraswati also. The Rishi chants Om Maho Anna Saraswati Prachetayati Ketuna Dhiyo Vishwa Virajati. The Rishi speaks about Maho Anna Saraswati. That means the flow of the consciousness, Prachetayati Ketuna. It rises with the supreme blessings of the Almighty. That is the Maho Anna Saraswati Prachetayati Ketuna. The famous Gayatri Mantram is also there. So what the message the scriptures has given, the Vedic mystics has discovered, they handed this knowledge to the other generations. It has some symbolic meanings. And also the tradition defines Richo Akshare Parame Bhyoman Yasmin Deva Adhi Vishwa Nisheduhu Yastanna Vedatam Richam Kim Karishanti. That means the richas, the mantras, the symbolic forms of the sounds exist. Richo Akshare Parame Bhyoman. In the intermediate Parame Bhyoman, the Richa exists in the divine sound. Yasmin Deva Adhivishwa Nishedu, where the gods, just like we human beings are creating this today's session, Satras, Yasmin Deva Adhivishwa Nishedu, where the gods make the dialogues, debates. Yasmin Deva Adhivishwa Nishedu, Yastanna Veda, who do not know that existence, the Mrusham Kim Karishati, what the Vedas will do for them. The Vedas are existed on the earth since millions of the manifestation of the universal phenomena, whether it is Satya Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Krita Yuga, and Kali Yuga. There are many interpretations, many conferences, many seminars, but still what I feel, the supreme knowledge and consciousness needs to be understood in a proper manner. And that the Vedic systems, because today is the Vedic Heritage Study and Research Forum, it is confined to, I'm talking about the Vedic things. And you will find some similar ideas when we do some cross-cultural or inter-religious harmony kind of research. The Avestan text also we find some similar ideas, and many scriptures we find similar ideas. So it is basically the consciousness, not fragmented, not identified to different religions, cultures, but more specifically the divine consciousness to feel the divinity within. And also, if we apply to this Vedic knowledge, nowadays we talk about the Indian knowledge systems, the integral knowledge systems, many others. Like nowadays, more emphasis has been given for the documentation of these traditional knowledge systems and utilizing in the course curriculum. So if we'll see these symbols in a more specific manner, these ideas can address to this human right advocacy in terms of international cooperations, grassroots movements also, diplomacy and dialogue, conflict resolution in education level also, in economic developments, many others. For example, I'll give, you take the example of India's soft power, take the example of yoga. When this was proposed to UNESCO in 2016, yoga became the International Day of Yoga. But prior to that, yoga was also included under UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage. And it is a matter of great pleasure. When I was with the government, I was part of the subgroup advisory board. I also contributed to this. So when we apply to this ancient knowledge, ancient, traditional, holistic, and more specific, the living conscious forces, it can be utilized, the creation of this international. For example, you take India's soft power. India's soft power, actually, the policy. So more specifically, India is a soft power, how they these systems can be utilized, can be experienced into more things. And what do you feel that when we talk about the peace, this knowledge system is needed, but is it only the knowledge which will overcome from the obstacles? I think a little bit practice is also needed, because the Vedic tradition was established on two things. The first one is the Shastram, the theoretical part. The second one is the Prayog. And in the Vedanta Shastras, the Rishi speaks about Lakshana Pramanabhyami Vastu Siddhi. That means if you want to establish a concept, that should be a Lakshana, definition and Praman, some examples, and how the examples comes through practical experimentations. Like our scientists, they spent their entire life to discover a particular branch of knowledge. I'll give one small example and finish in 5 minutes so that we can have a discussion. When I was a student in the school, we studied that law of gravitation was explored, and he saw that an apple was fallen from the tree, and he told there is a law of gravitation. When I was a student of master, I found Sir Isaac Newton's biography. It was a small piece of book. And when I was a student, I was very much fond of studying the biography of the people. And I had a lot to read, even nowadays also, some 15, 20 pages, small booklets in Odia language read. In that book, I came to know when Sir Isaac Newton saw the fruit was fallen from the tree, and when he told to the world there is a force, it is called law of gravitation. And can you imagine what was the time gap? It was 16 years. For 16 years, he was exercising in brain what exactly it is. And when Sir Isaac Newton saw, he saw why this fruit is falling. It was a theory. It was an idea, actually, thought. But when he told to the world there is a force called law of gravitation, it became a theory. And the tremendous thing is, during that European Renaissance was there, many of the scientists that didn't accept it, many of them accepted. There was a revolution among the scientists. And with their fightings or with their acceptance and rejection, many of the scientific theories were invented. In that book, I came to know. So when we talk about practical application of all these knowledge systems, this and holistic knowledge needs to be identified, addressed in a more specific knowledge based on the current days, not only the challenges, but also the necessities of the time. Like Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, India used this Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and address the G20 presidency. And with the dynamic presence of our Honorable Prime Minister and many countries, they joined their hands. And India had also recently had the first World Heritage Committee meeting, which happened at the Bharat Mandapam at Delhi. So when we talk about the rich heritage, it has millions of scriptures. There are thousands of texts and millions of the supreme souls. They are invoking, they are practicing this spirituality to make the human lives noble. I'll refer one sloka from the famous treatise of Sri Aurobindo, that is the Bhavani Bharati. In Bhavani Bharati, Sri Aurobindo defines the rishis, those who do the tapas and the this country, Bharat, is rising. It is basically their consciousness, the Maharishi Aurobindo speaks about. I would like to quote at the last one of the famous quotations by Mark Twain, the famous philosopher. He mentioned that in India, this is India actually, the cradle of human race, the birthplace of human speech, mother of history, grandmother of legend, great-grandmother of traditions, whose yesterdays bear date with the smoldering antiquities of the rest of the nations. India had the start of the old world in the beginning of things. She had the fourth civilization and she had the first accumulation of material wealth. She has the populace with the deep thinkers and the subtle intellects. She had minds and oats and future soil. When I quote this, my intention is not to present that our country is the best one, because when we talk about the consciousness of Bharat, which is the great country, India, India's main identity in the beginning, what I referred, I will go to that slide. Yes, this one. This is basically the motif, the last, basically the unique characters of India's past to the soul's outermost and innermost, basically widest and highest spiritualizing the life on earth. That is the existence and for which she was born and on meaning of her existence actually. So when we talk about the sacred Vedas, because when these Vedas were composed, when these rishis discovered this spirit, at that time, I don't think some divisions of the nations were there. The nations were created by the human beings, because if you refer to the world history, there were civilizations actually. And when these civilizations came in contact with each other, they forgot how to live in a harmonious way. And the world history speaks of class of civilization. सभ्यताओं के बीच में लड़ाई होता है और उसमें क्या होता है, सभ्यताएं टूट जाते हैं, the collapse हो जाते हैं उसमें. Suppose you take the examples of many of the civilizations were collapsed and the rise of nation, वहाँ पे राष्ट्र की अभ्युदय होता है. So these fragmentations of these civilizations, creation of small nations, it is not the end, because in many countries there is the demand of creation of new nations. Even if Bharat also there is a demand of to create new nations, but it is only a fragmentations of the human consciousness. What I believe, why we are breaking this beautiful earth, the Vedas speaks of Mata Bhumi Putroham Pratibhyah. The mother, the earth is my mother, I am his son. And how can we break, how can we divide our mother earth in such a way? So it is basically what I started in the beginning, the evolution process, the activities of the divine and the hostile, they're working. Like Sri Aurobindo writes in his hymns to the mystic fire or secret of the Vedas, the human body speaks of the existence of the gods and goddesses. Where the divine wants to establish their existence, the hostile also trying to capture it. And Sri Aurobindo defines, unless until we realize our inner soul, our own existence, and with the divine Shatra, we can reach to the Almighty. So this was the thing which I was trying to explain to you, and my objective was to refer some of the scriptures and some of the ideas. And to conclude this, what I feel, I belong to a traditional family from the Samaveda Sakha, and I studied the scriptures, classical scriptures from my mother actually, because at the age of 76 also, she every day recites some of the verses from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Ramayana and other texts. And inspired by my family things, I took Sanskrit as a subject. I did my higher studies, and also more specifically when I was connected with the Government of India's institutions under the Ministry of Culture, I worked with many specific projects, that is, whether it is the intangible cultural heritage, whether it is the diversity of expressions, whether it is the cross-cultural connections. With whatever little my understanding, we are connected with the society's activities, and we are trying to connect with the institutions. For example, for the promotion of the Vedas, Society earlier did a project on the Vedas, that is the Rig Veda and Upanishads also. We are creating a digital portal based on the Sri Aurobindo's writings, what he has interpreted the Vedas. That portal will come soon. We have also another project, that is Project Gurukulam. We work with the traditional Gurukulams where the study of ancient Vedas are going on. And more specifically, we help those Gurukul system to strengthen in terms of infrastructures, in terms of skill development of the students, in terms of introducing them the modern knowledge systems and how they can sustain by utilizing their knowledge and skills. The third project is a Vedic chanting program. We do time to time Vedic chanting as intangible heritage. And we are also in a process to have an international conference very soon on the Vedas. We will spread the information, many of you can join. So our approach is mainly institutional networking to connect with the institutions, the Gurukulams and the departments throughout the world where these Sanskrit studies or whether it is the Indological studies or the Oriental studies, Asian, South Asian studies, many more. India, actually, it is only confined to the Sanskrit studies. But if you'll refer to the one of the syllabus of the Harvard University, at the bottom of the syllabus, it was written, after completing this education, you can get a job in Oriental studies, Indic studies, Sanskrit studies, South Asian studies, Asian studies, ethics studies, many others. So there is a need for the revamp of the whatever studies are happening in the universities, and we have trained, we have experienced teachers, we have experienced mentors, those who are promoting these systems. And being a research institute in social sciences and affiliated to the recognitions from the Ministry of Science and Technology, we are closely working with Ministry of Education, Culture, Tourism, and Science and Technology, both with the local government in Puducherry and also more specifically with the central government and also some international agencies. And it's a matter of great pleasure that the mother is our executive president. She is the permanent force, and under her guidance, the work is going on. So the first pillar is basically the institutional networking, and we are more specific to some research projects. And third is connecting people like all of you. And the last one is the community outreach activities. So these are the four things. So with a great hope, actually, we dreamed about this today's project, that is the Vedic Heritage Study and Research Forum. Yes, so with God's grace, whatever responsibility was given to me, I hope I did my best, whatever the knowledge and skills it was revealing through my mind. And if this is a success, the credit goes to all of you, because all of you shared your time. And I hope I have not wasted your times. If something good has come out, the credit goes to all of you. If something negative, if something bad has come out, I am responsible for everything. But I appeal to all of you, please join this mission. Like we have many scholars, we can have a discussion here. We have Dinesh Prasad ji, we have Ramesh Yadav ji, Binay Sinha Bhaiya from Bihar branch, Vinod Marude Bhai is there, Annapurna ji from BPK, Government of Pondicherry, Girish Rai ji is there. Then we have some scholars from abroad, Mia Leo Rodjik, there's Ambarish Das is there, Arun Kapaniaj is there, Renu Sharma ji from Allahabad. She is a good friend of mine, basically a student, a scholar in Vedic studies, but I consider her a student because she loves to study and share the ideas. We have Sunil Behra ji and many others like Vaishnavi ji, Kumaran ji, Audhendra Pandey ji, also our elder brother. Audhendra Bhai, he's a great mentor for us. He's trying to connect with many people, many communities. So I appeal all of you, this is your forum actually, although it was flown from the society. The Sri Aurobindo, the Vedic Heritage Study and Research Forum, this is your forum. All of you, please join hands together, whether it is in the school level. If you have a small Gurukul in your village or in your areas, please introduce us. We will include them in your global community. If you want to do some activities in the local community at your place, we'll love to contribute, whether it is digitally or physically. So join our hands. Let it be a movement. Movement just to realize the supreme consciousness. So this is my appeal to all of you. Ajay Kumar Sahuji is also there. He's just like my elder brother. He's a great follower of Swami Vivekananda, and he was based in abroad and a great yoga scholar. So I hope I did my job. And now this floor is open. If you have any suggestions, any criticisms, any ideas, anything, so we can have a discussion.
बहुत ही सुंदर वार्ता हुई है।
हाँ, विनोद भैया कुछ सॉरी विनोद मर्दे भैया कुछ बोल रहे हैं जी।
जी, मतलब इतनी गंभीर और इतनी इंफॉर्मेटिव, इतनी इंस्पायरिंग वार्ता के बाद में कुछ बोल पाने का तो कुछ रह नहीं जाता है। लेकिन जैसे कि भारतीय संस्कृति का मूल वाक्य है वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, हमारी यही विशेषता है कि तमाम विभिन्नताओं के बाद भी एक परिवार की भांति पूरा विश्व रह सकता है। अभी जैसे
आपका थोड़ा सा वॉइस कम हो रहा है विनोद भैया, थोड़ा सा।
जी जी जी। मैंने इतना ही कहा है कि आपकी वार्ता बहुत ही सार्थक और हम लोगों के लिए बहुत ही प्रेरक रही है। और भारतीय संस्कृति की ये विशेषता है कि हमारे यहाँ वसुधैव कुटुंबकम को मूल वाक्य माना गया है। हमारी यही विशेषता है कि तमाम विभिन्नताओं के बाद भी एक परिवार की भांति पूरा विश्व रह सकता है। और अभी G20 की जो चर्चा हुई, यह एक बहुत बड़ा एक उदाहरण हुआ, वन वर्ल्ड वन नेशन। तो सभी कार्य जब संपूर्ण मानव जाति के लिए किया जाए तो सारा संसार ही एक परिवार बनकर के रह सकता है। अभी मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि श्री अरविंद अपने महाकाव्य सावित्री में कहते हैं कि वन मैन्स परफेक्शन कैन सेव द वर्ल्ड। और इसी को अगर ऐसा हम लेके चलें कि व्यक्ति जैसे एक अकेला व्यक्ति बहुत बड़ा काम कर सकता है, एक अकेला राष्ट्र भी वैसे ही महान कार्य कर सकते हैं। लेकिन इसका बेस जो है, जब तक आध्यात्मिकता नहीं होगी, स्पिरिचुअलिटी नहीं होगी, ये काम नहीं हो पाएगा। आज आपने बहुत ही सुंदर ढंग से जो आध्यात्मिकता की बात रखी है, मैं समझता हूं कि हम सभी के लिए बहुत ही एक ऐसा चैलेंजिंग टास्क है कि हम अपने जीवन में पूर्णतः इस पर आधारित हो जाएं, और इससे हमारे साथ का परिवेश भी जग उठेगा और एक ऐसा काम होगा जिससे कि हमारा देश, हमारा विश्व एक नए डगर पर, एक नई राह पर चल सकेगा। इसलिए मुझे लगता है कि जब दो नहीं होते तब सब कुछ एक हो जाता है। तो इसमें आपने एक बहुत बड़ा संदेश दिया है कि वननेस का जो मैसेज है, ये बहुत ही हम लोगों के लिए एक बहुत प्रेरक वाक्य है। मैं आपका बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ। इस तरह का ये वार्ता बहुत ही रेयर सुनने को मिलती है। मैं पुनः पुनः आपको हार्दिक प्रणाम करता हूँ।
विनोद भैया हमारे बहुत ही पूज्य हैं और एक अग्रज की भांति हमारे मन में आपके लिए स्वागत और आग्रह है। And I will introduce all of you. Vinod Mardia Bhai, he is from the Sri Aurobindo Society's branch from Bihar. And every day in the morning, they do the Savitri classes, and also Binay Kumar Sinha Bhai and many others from the community. And in the evening time, they do the study of the divine life. So, Vinod Bhai, thank you so much for your beautiful thing. I just want to share one thing while listening to you. One idea came to mind. I want to share that actually because that's a beautiful one. You see, this is the message given by Sri Aurobindo in 1949. It is basically the Sri Aurobindo's message to America. The last paragraph is, the ascent of human soul to the Supreme Spirit is the soul's highest aim and necessity. For that is the supreme reality. But there can be, through the descent of the spirit and its powers into the world, and that would justify the existence of the material world, also give a meaning, a divine purpose to the creation and solve its riddle, East and West could be reconciled in the pursuit of the highest and largest ideal. You see the last line, spirit embrace matter and matter finds its own true reality and the hidden reality in all things in the spirit. This was the message I was trying to share here. And thank you so much, Vinod Bhaiya, for your, we will definitely, whatever projects we do, our main focus is to connect with the traditions, the scriptures, and to present the things in a more specific manners. And we will definitely seek your help and support in this initiative, and we'll continue this dialogue. And yes, we have some comments also. Just 1 second. Okay. Okay, excellent, inspiring. Vedas teach the origin and reasons for existence. Annapurna ji is from the Bharatiya Balkalai one college in Pondicherry under the Pondicherry government, that is Bharatiya Center for Performing Arts. She talks about the Vedas are the origin and reasons for the existence, and also Dr. Renu Kochar Sarma. Dr. Renu ji, you are here. She is basically one faculty from the Allahabad University. Renu ji, you want to say something?
Yeah, thank you very much, Tripathy ji. It was actually very wonderful to listen to you. I'm already aware with your intellect. So it's really great initiative. I congratulate you and your team. It's absolutely wonderful. Actually, I would like to be a part of this in future. So it's very good. I really enjoyed your lecture, your talk. In fact, I'll end my words with the Vedic word, with a Vedic sentence or a Vedic mantra.
Yes.
Yatra Vishwam Bhavatyeka Nidam.
Yes.
It's from Yajurved. It's just like, it's a similar meaning, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and Yatra Vishwam Bhavatyeka Nidam. So I'm very much happy, and definitely we'll work together in this project.
Yeah. So we require the support, since you are a Vedic scholar. I know you studied from a prestigious institution called Jawaharlal Nehru University and currently part of the Allahabad University. And we had discussed sometimes to have a project on the Vedic Rishikas. Maybe in collaboration with your university, we can have the next program on the Vedic Rishikas. Sure. The next session we'll do that. The physical programs will come out later, but the digital programs, the next program will be the Rishikas. And please identify some scholars, those who can speak at least on one segments we can give. Thank you so much for your ideas, and we'll love to work with each other.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We have one comment from Leah Rodriguez. She's in Argentina, and her message is, I have to give class now, so I have to go back to recording. So we have been studying. Okay, we have been studying the projection of Indian tradition through the Indian cultural diplomacy. A very interesting theme. My regards to everyone. Okay, so I'll tell you. Yeah, any other ideas? Any other questions?
मिश्रा जी,
yes
जी, हाँ, ये एक है अग्रतः चतुरो वेदा पृष्ठतः सरो धनु, इसके बारे में आपका क्या ख्याल है?
What is the text?
अग्रतः आगे चतुरो वेदा पृष्ठतः पृष्ठ पर हमारे सरो धनु। मेरे ख्याल में, मैं तो मानता हूँ ये भी हमारा वन ऑफ द ये है, महावाक्य में से है। आश्रम में भी फिजिकल ट्रेनिंग, फिजिकल ये पर कितना जोर दिया जाता है, केवल सिद्धांत पक्ष नहीं बल्कि ये जो शरीर है इस पर भी ध्यान है ही। तो अग्रतः चतुरो वेदाः पृष्ठतः सरो धनु, आप अध्यात्म भी हो और हमारी शक्ति भी हो, ऊर्जा की उपेक्षा नहीं की जाती।
जी
बात जी, इस पर आपका विचार जानना चाहेंगे जब भी मौका मिले। जी
जरूर, ये बहुत ही सुंदर सा वाक्य आपने उठाया। एक्चुअली I'll try to quote महर्षि दयानंद सरस्वती in this context. महर्षि दयानंद सरस्वती जी अपने ऋग्वेदादि भाष्य भूमिका में लिखते हैं, वो चारों वेदों के डेफिनेशंस, उसके यूटिलिटी के बारे में बोलते हैं। वो बोलते हैं कि जो ऋग्वेद है, that is the book of knowledge. The Yajurved है, that is the book of action. Samaveda is the book of devotion, and Atharveda is the book of science. So when we talk about the tradition, actually ये चार वेद जो है हमारे सामने एक अग्रस्तंभ के रूप में खड़े होते हैं, और केवल सामने ही नहीं, इसके ऊपर में हम लोग एक अलग से सेशंस करेंगे, because it will take a lot of time to refer many of the scriptures and others. So the वेद जो है ये मेनली सनातन धर्म का आधार रहा है, और इसको जो सब्जेक्ट्स है इसके लिए बेसिकली बुक ऑफ नॉलेज, ritual actions and science and the devotions, ये basically human beings की existence है actually, because it speaks about the universal phenomena. Definitely we will have a separate session on this. Thank you so much for your inputs. Any other ideas?
धन्यवाद।
और कुछ विचार हैं उसमें, आप कुछ शेयर करना चाहते हैं कोई? We have Sunil Behra ji with us, basically an integral yoga practitioner and academician from community. Sunil Bhaiya, you want to say something? You will let Ajay Bhaiya, Ajay Kumar Sahu ji is there. He's a great yoga practitioner and doing a lot of activities in the light of Swami Vivekananda and other things. Ajay Kumar Sahu ji, you want to say something? Okay. So I hope now it is the time to close the session, and it was really a great pleasure to be here and with all of you, and it was really a good time actually, because we did it on the International Day of Peace, and the theme we had chosen that is Vedic vision of peace and sustainability, and we had a little bit discussions and also your inputs. We'll continue this dialogue as we discuss that the next session maybe we will do it in collaboration with the Allahabad University with Dr. Renu Kochar Sarmaji's dynamic support. And I request once again that if you have any idea, any specific projects we can do in a collaborative way, please, we'll be glad to collaborate. And with this, today's session will offer to the divine. And just some two announcements I want to do, that we have started a project on culture and sustainability, and it is not confined to any specific traditions or scriptures. It is open, because the Vedic Rishi speaks of Anubhadraha Kratabayantu Vishwadha. Let noble thoughts come to us from every side. And that project will form a team of people. If you want to contribute something in an academic way, you can do it. And we're planning to have a conference, and the date is yet to be finalized. And once it is ready, we will share the information so that many of you can join for this initiative. This is my contact number is here, and my email I am just sharing. If anyone wants to have, this is my number actually. You can take, and anytime you can contact me through my emails, mobile numbers, whatever we can do. And with this, today was an auspicious day because International Day of Peace, and it's a heavy rainfall in Pondicherry, and the Shravani started in August. For a couple of months, it will continue this Vedic study of the Vedas in the Gurukulams. In the similar way, we are doing a little bit thing to the process. So let us join our hands and find peace inside and spread a little bit message of peace to others. And whatever little way we can continue to the sustainability of the universal phenomena, our life on earth, whatever time the Lord had granted us, let us join our hands and make this beautiful world full with happiness, with love and peace and sustainability. That is the existence. And for this purpose only we came to the earth. And when we'll go out with some good memories. Our sanskaras will go with us. And the journey is to intermingle with the universal consciousness, and the journey is to intermingle with the universal soul. The journey is to intermingle with the universal form, the body. The journey is to intermingle with the dissolve with the supreme consciousness, the mind. And that is the immortality. That is the main business of our life on earth. And this evolution process, we are continuing to the mainstream. The evolution process, we are part of this, we are not apart. So in a harmonious way, the peace will start from the within us. To conclude this, once again, I want to refer once again that last line of the International Peace Day, which is very symbolic actually. Wars begin in the minds of men, so it is the minds of men that defenses of peace must be constructed. So the peace needs to be constructed in the human minds. That is the message on this day. And Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, we are from family, one life, and one earth. So with this, I'd like to say namaste to all of you.
Thank you, sir, for such an enlightening session.
It is a very nice session, sir.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, please. You can introduce yourself, madam. And
sir, I am Sadhan Kumar Dev from Kolkata, West Bengal.
Yes, Sadhanji. Yes, Sadhanji. Please, most welcome. Yes.
Sir, really, it was an enlightening session today. So, special great gratitude on our behalf, on behalf of all the participants of today's evening session. Sir, just one query from my side. That
yes, please,
how this Vedic heritage studies and research will work. If you can just, if you could highlight upon the roadmap of this, how would you like to do work on that? And if possible, what would be our possible contribution for this? Because I am personally very much interested in this particular.
Actually, Sadhanji, thank you so much for your inputs. And we always love your presence in such programs. I discussed this. This is basically the roadmap, actually, some say 8 principles we have. The first one is conceptual, policy and action-based research, including impact assessment and case studies. Second is jointly partnering and collaborating in projects and programs taken up in association with central government, state government, national and international organizations. Third is the preparation of resource materials for various courses with special emphasis on Indian cultural values and cross-cultural ethos, and publish some literatures and develop print and non-print materials, including texts, commentaries, and translations, and organize programs. That is one of the most booming areas. And cooperate with any other associations and undertake all such activities and necessary, mainly in a collaborative way.
Yes, sir. That I know. Whatever the general principles that I know, but my question is very specific with reference to this particular project that you have referred. Vedic heritage studies and research. So how would you like to implement that? Would there be any sort of PhD research on this?
Yes. It's a good question actually. What I mentioned are the objectives. What is the 4-fold applications? That is institutional networking, some research projects, people-to-people contact, and the outreach activity. This is the strategy actually. So being representing Sri Aurobindo Society, which is connected to the ashram and Aurobindo, we have the triangle process. Sri Aurobindo Ashram Society and Aurobindo, we are connected with many institutions. And representing the research ethos, particularly the research institutions, we will focus on specific research projects, because research, it is good research projects. We are not finding good research projects nowadays. So in such a dialogue, we can address the current challenges. Like today we talk about the peace and sustainability. Maybe the next project will be women's contribution to the knowledge, more specifically referring to the Vedas. So what we have discussed, we are planning to start some micro level courses to interact with the communities, not only the students, not only the young minds, but also the community people. So since we have the wider network in India and more other countries also, we will mainly focus on the research and outreach programs. So
Okay.
I believe that we cannot change the consciousness or the mind of others, but we can present the things in a more specific way, referring to the traditions. So my answer to your question is we'll focus on some qualitative research works, and more specifically to addressing the gaps between tradition and modernity. This is our main approach. And I hope community engagement and community outreach activities can be a tool to this. Yes. For
Okay.
example, nowadays everyone talks about the Indian knowledge systems, thanks to the Indian government by implementing this project.
Yes,
But I
sir.
hope through this Indian knowledge systems also some specific projects. For instance, I'll give one example. Today we have recently we have signed an MOU with Pondicherry University to have a project on sustainable One Health. That is on the human health, plants and animal lives. So when we talk about the sustainable One Health, we have experts from the veterinary fields, we have experts from the medical sciences, we have many experts from the subdomains. So we will continue our activities, whatever, whether it is a little squirrel's role, more specifically on qualitative research and target based outreach projects actually. So
Okay.
we have specific modules for specific groups. For example, if you want to establish the art forms, we have National Capacity Building Program for artists and cultural professionals, a new project we have started. So we closely work with the communities, with the government and the private agencies. If you have any specific idea, you can share with us. Maybe we can have a joint project also. This is my submission to you.
Thank you, sir. It
Yes.
was really nice to talk. Such a noble gathering today. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Adanji. So I hope we had a wonderful session, and we will continue this initiative further. And in Sanskrit, there is we don't say goodbye actually. We say namaste and punar darshanaya. That means punar darshanaya means we will see you again. So with God's grace, let there be peace on the earth, in each and every beings on the earth, and let this creation sustain in a proper way. And if you can contribute to is the sustainability process, that will be one of the greatest contributions. With this, we'll meet again. And with this, namaste and punar darshanaya. Namaste to all.
Same to you, sir.